I'm looking at some freeware programs for making animations. This time I'm looking at GIMP. GIMP is a free and open source image manipulation program with a large number of tools and options. It is not specialized for animations, it is just one of many things that you can do. In GIMP you can save your animation as a GIF. You could alternatively save a sequence of images that you stitch together to an animation in another program. I am using the 2.8 version of GIMP. The most recent version now is 2.10, so I am a little behind on updating, which quite honestly is my normal state. I don't expect that there is any fundamental changes that affects the animation process, however. So, in GIMP we can use layers to build up an image. When doing an animation, we instead use the layers as frames. Each layer becomes a frame in your animation. So, I am going to do a bouncing ball. I've made a base image of the ball. I have duplicated that image and used the scale tool to change the duplicated frames to different squished stages of the bouncing process. To make things a bit more fun, I have added a set of eyes to the ball. I have added the eyes after the squishing manipulations because I don't want the eyes to be affected by the scaling. And this is the point where I realize I forgot to shade the ball before doing the squishing. So now I get to shade 4 balls instead of 1. I will use the Fuzzy Select tool to make sure I will only paint inside the line. I use the Airbrush tool to do the shading. Okay, back to the eyes. So for each frame I position the eyes and use Merge Down to join the eyes with the ball image. Remember that each layer is now a frame, so you cannot think in terms of layers when you are doing an animation. Well, then again, maybe you could. From GIMP 2.8 you have something called layer groups. This could be something that could be used to have different layers within a frame. I have not really tried that out yet, and it would be overkill for this animation, but it might be something for a future video though. Well, now I have my frames. So, next I will put them in the right order. GIMP will start the animation with the bottom layer in the stack and move its way upwards. I position the ball within each frame, using duplicate for new frames, using the same image that I already have used for a different frame. I also rename each frame. This is not strictly necessary, but it keeps things neater. I also include in the name of the layer the length of time to show each frame in milliseconds and the method to show the frame. I'm using the method replace, which means that the earlier frame is removed and replaced by the new one. That is important to use when you have a transparent background. Otherwise, the frames will be shown stacked up one on top of the other as the animation progresses. These are GIF commands. I could wait and do this in the Save as Animated GIF window. But the commands also affects the playback function in GIMP, and I do like to do a test run or two before going to the making of the GIF. The replay function in GIMP is placed in a, to me, slightly unintuitive place. It is placed under the Filters tab, and there under the subfolder Animation. The replay will show up in a separate window. You can set speed for replay and you can move forward step by step. One thing I tend to have a problem with is that I generally work in a larger scale than the final piece is to be. You cannot adjust the size of the replay, which can be a problem if the frames are larger than the available space of the screen. Before I make the GIF, I crop the image and I scale the image to the size I want for the final GIF. Before I scale down the image, I make a save in GIMP's own native file format, XCF. That way I have a work-size file if I want to make changes at a later time. To make the GIF, you need to use the export function. By using the GIF extension when naming the file that is to be exported, GIMP will automatically export in that format. You will get a window where you need to check the box for an animated GIF. If you miss to do that, GIMP will fuse the layers together to one image. If that happens, you will be glad to have a safety copy in the XCF format. You will also have the possibility to set time and method for showing the frames of the animation. And that is how you make an animation using GIMP.